It's just been one of those days. Here we go. And in you go. Have a cup of tea with me. Honestly, friends, this is a bit of a check-in. For those who don't know me, my name is Anne-Marie Covert. I'm a counselor, I'm a mental health program manager, and I'm the founder of Mindjoy Counselling and Training. And today, I honestly just want to check in with people because I've been a little bit concerned. It's been a very difficult season, and I don't need to go through all that. I think if you live in the world, you know it's been rough. But what I want to talk about today is optimism and positivity, because that's actually what's causing a little bit of concern. January and February are often the most depressing times of the year, and that's without a global pandemic. I have a lot of friends who, similar to me, are very optimistic and hopeful usually, and that's wonderful. That's a great coping mechanism. That's a growth mindset. It helps you get through a lot of trials and tribulations. The difficulty is, long term, if we're always reframing and always being positive, we're actually denying the stress we still feel. Because even if our head copes well, our heart and our body feel stress. So even though you know how to reframe, you make the best out of every situation, you're always looking for the silver lining, you're doing Pinterest projects with that time that you're off work, maybe you've started a new business, maybe you're at work and you're an essential worker and you're doing really meaningful stuff during this pandemic. Maybe you've always looked for hope and the optimistic outcomes. But how are you doing? Have you been giving yourself space to be anxious, upset, angry, grieve? Change is work, mentally and emotionally, and we've had a lot of change. We've constantly had to adapt. So even if you're coping well mentally, I want to almost assume that you're struggling emotionally or physically in some way, shape, or form. So if you've noticed that maybe you're less motivated lately, maybe you're tired, maybe you feel achy, maybe you're more moody than normal, maybe your stress threshold is a little lower than it normally is, and you feel triggered easily, maybe you're feeling more offended than you normally do, or mistrusting of people, all of these can be signs of burnout from coping really well for so long and not recognizing that we have limits. We all have limits, and that's okay. We're wired that way. My encouragement for you today is that you take space for your emotions. In physics, matter, physical stuff around us, cannot be created or destroyed. It has to take one form or another. Emotions are like matter because they matter. Emotions cannot be destroyed. They exist. So if you're upset or angry or anxious and you reframe and you think positive, that's great for your mind, but your heart is still like, wait a minute, I'm still struggling. And the problem is, over time, because of what we've been taught, we suppress our emotions because we pull up our bootstraps or we put on a stiff upper lip or, look at the glass half full, whatever the cliche is that you've been taught. We learn to deny our emotions, suppress them, and they show up in another way, whether it's a physical or a mental health concern. So the way you can help yourself is give yourself space to feel your emotions because they matter. So how can you do that? Honestly, the first thing is to name the emotion. Just acknowledge it. Say, I'm feeling really anxious right now. I'm feeling really stressed. I'm feeling really sad. Whatever it is, just name it. What that does is that starts to self-validate yourself. And when we acknowledge an emotion, we actually start to diffuse the emotion. I heard a podcast recently, I'll give credit to in the comments, I can't think of the name of it offhand, but they said when we name an emotion, we tame an emotion. Just naming how you feel can help. The next is we want to give space for our emotion. If you feel like you need to cry, cry. If you feel like you need to yell, yell. Do it into a pillow. Do it in a safe place in a safe way. Be intentional about sharing your emotions. Do it on your own or phone a friend. Ask if you can spend a little bit of time venting. At work we call it therapeutic release. That's a fancy way of saying going bleh. We all need to go bleh sometimes with how we feel. So name the emotion, acknowledge it, give it space, and then thirdly, look for a theme. If you notice when you're venting your emotions, something comes up all the time. For example, why do people always reject me? Or I feel so worthless. Or I feel like I have no purpose for my life. If you're noticing some kind of theme come to the surface when you do that, I'd advise that you look into that. Do some self-reflection. Ask yourself, is there something I'm believing that's unhealthy? We're allowed to have emotions, that's healthy, but the beliefs is where the unhealthy piece can happen. Because those beliefs drive everything we do, everything we think, everything we act out upon, and they also contribute to how we feel. So if you have some core beliefs that are causing disruption in your life, I encourage you to maybe see a counselor, maybe take it to a spiritual advisor, maybe take it to a close friend. But do something with that core belief if you think it's problematic, and if you want to believe better things for yourself. And then the last thing is build in rest and recovery. When you express emotions, sometimes it can be tiring. It takes a bit of energy, maybe because some of that was pent up for a while. So then just take some time to take care of you. Do something that is not very emotionally or mentally draining. Watch a nostalgic movie, go for a walk, doodle in a journal, do a puzzle, do something that's restful and restorative. At the end of the day, I just want to encourage you that if you're struggling, it doesn't mean something's wrong with you. A lot of us are struggling, even the optimistic and the hopeful ones. So take time, give yourself space to feel your emotions, do rest and recovery and some self-care, and we're gonna get through this. Bye guys.